So extreme weight cuts and fighters struggling to make weight in general is becoming the norm now, it seems, in UFC all over. So my first question, Dwayne, do you actually think that they should be more lenient with the weight classes? Do you think they should allow for a little more wiggle room?
Yeah, I think so because like it's a big jump from 155 to 170, and I would like a bit more wiggle room because if you look at like boxing divisions, there's a weight division for almost every £5. I'm not saying the UFC should do that because that's too many divisions, isn't it? But they seem to be it really forces fighters to have to go, right, well, I'm not big enough to do that, so I'm going to have to cut all the way down to 155. So it's such a shame that there's not sort of a go-between division between those two, but Dana really seems set against making the sort of 165, 160 division.
Yeah, it does seem really against. I mean, that is true though in boxing. If you eat a chocolate eclair, you're in a different weight division. There's that many of them, to be honest. But it almost, when people do extreme weight cuts just to make fights every single time, I often think like, is it actually healthy in the long run? And B, you think, is it a form of cheating then? If that's not I know walk around weight and your fighting weight is it's bound to be slightly different. But when like if you got to really sort of murder yourself to get to that weight in general, do you think, well, you're not a natural, lightweight, for example? What do you think on that?
Yeah, well, it's difficult, isn't it? Because like if you look at like Connor, for example, when he was at 145, when you see his weight cuts, oh my, it looks terrible. Like he's got jaundice, his cheeks are all sunken in, he looks so unwell. Like Hamzat when he fought Li Jingliang, he looked like he was going to fall over. You see people pass out. And I guess it is kind of a form of cheating, really, isn't it? Because you're putting yourself under these risks where other fighters may think, well, I'm not going to do that because it's not good for it's not good for me. It's not good for my health. It's not good for longevity of my career. It's like, look at George St. Pierre, he talked about like he could have maybe cut down to 155, but he was like, well, it's just not healthy for me to do that. And yeah, in some ways, I guess it is cheating, really. It is unfair, isn't it? You become a weight bully, I guess.
Well, like George St. Pierre, he was just a professional all round, though, wasn't he? To be honest, he just knew exactly what he was doing. But in the light of this, Aspen Ladd, she missed weight, but this is the third time that she's done it. That's where, question alarm bells should be ringing in everyone's head, like saying, well, I don't think you should be fighting at this weight division then, But like, I actually agree, maybe a little bit of a contradiction, that when people miss weight, a good example is Charles Oliveira last year when he actually lost the belt the night before he was fighting Gaethje. It was half a pound over. And a lot of people are saying, well, it's only half a pound, but you say exactly half a pound over is technically not a lightweight. Yeah. And where would that stop? If it was £3 or something, people say, it's only £3 over. You're like, yeah, but he's not a lightweight. He hasn't made the weight. It's just unprofessional, Like we did a community poll this week and most people had commented saying they should be treated more harsh. Like, there should be further punishments if someone can't make the weight.
I agree. I don't think, because I think they get taken, 20% of their purse off now, don't they? And it's probably not enough because it seems fighters aren't bothered. They're like, oh, well, never mind, I won't care. Especially if that Aston Ladd's missed weight 3 times. When that happens, if you miss weight once, it happens. You can have a bad cut, things happen, people make mistakes, but you have to be able to fix that mistake. You can't keep doing it. Once you've missed weight the second time, that's it. You should not be allowed to fight in that weight division anymore. Now you have to go up. Is that look at Paulo Costa when he fought Marvin Vettori? He came in way, way overweight. He had to make a catch weight. He lost 20% of his purse. And Dana even said, well, no, he's going to have to go up a weight division and fight at light heavyweight. But Paulo Costa came back this time with Luke Rockhold and he put that work in and he got down to the weight, and that's fantastic. If they can do that, that's great. I'm happy to give people a chance. I'm happy to give people a chance, like I'm Dana White, like I get to decide.
They've all got to please Dwayne from London. But there is, like, say, last week, the UFC, obviously, Chris Barnett, he missed weight. For the heavyweight, that's £265. He missed weight for that.
Yeah.
Now, Dana did say after, he's like, I'm going to look after Chris Barnett. I mean, Chris Barnett gets a pass though. Everyone loves him. Me included. I'm a big fan of him, but there has got to be something in place. I do think the heavyweight division is slightly low though. I think they could up that weight a slight bit, even if it's only like a little flexy 5 pounds or something.
Well, that's the difference, isn't it? With the other weight divisions, it makes sense because look, here's the max weight, and then if you go above that, there's another weight division for you to go into. Whereas if it's heavyweight, there isn't another division for you to go to. It's like Brock Lesnar. He said he had to cut loads of weight. He had to lose a lot of weight to even make 165. 165. Could you remember Brock Lesnar at 165? Bloody hell.
Yeah.
265. So yeah, I do feel that they need to increase that limit for the heavyweight division, or make a super heavyweight. But I don't think that'd work. I don't think there's enough. Talent within the heavyweight pool already. I think you'd cut it too thin. So I think do bring that upper limit up. But again, we're showing bias, aren't we? Straight away, we're like, oh well, they should get more of their purse off. They should do this. Oh, but we do like a Chris Barnett, so it's all right. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, I think they've been talk of doing like a super heavyweight division in the past, but nothing formulated for exactly that reason. What you were saying, there isn't enough people in there. There isn't enough of a talent pool. It'd just be the same 2 fighters again and again.
Well,
and
I guess
again.
they could
a bit like the yeah, there is catchweights, I guess, but I mean, imagine Ngannou and Stipe too. Ngannou came in at, we're around 265. Stipe comes in at like, 230 or something like that.
Yeah.
So you think like, that's like that kind of nether zone for Stipe. I know he's considered the heavyweight GOAT, but at the same time, like, when you see the weight discrepancy, you're like, Jesus Christ. Like,
it's almost 2 weight divisions above, isn't it? So I guess, yeah, it does make sense then, doesn't it? Because if your average heavyweight fighters are coming at like 230, 240, and then your top level of 260, and you go, oh well, let's do them whatever. Some guy who comes in at 320, 310, he's going to be massive, isn't he? So I guess you do need that sort of balance. Like, right, if you do want to fight, you're going to have to have the sacrifice of a cut and level that playing field a bit more.
It's tough in the sense of exactly like, in the lower weight divisions, like you were saying, when someone's in a kind of nether zone where they look, for example, ill at lightweight, but they're a light welterweight, if that makes sense to say. When they're in that kind of nether zone, and it's kind of strange, but like even when Robert Whittaker was talking about potentially going up to light heavyweight, he says, I want to stack on a lot because I don't want to be a light heavyweight, if that makes sense. You've only just about made that cut. Imagine like a light heavyweight that weighs like 186, something like that. You're like, all right, you're probably just going to get battered then, aren't you, pal?
Yeah, exactly.
But overall, I mean, the weight divisions are there for a reason. We obviously know why. There's a few leniency points, and especially like you were saying, when we're giving Chris Barnett brownie points here just because he makes us laugh when he dances, and he's entertaining to watch, which shouldn't be the case, but we're allowed to be. We're fans of it.
Yeah.
But there are weight divisions for a reason. I just wish there was a little more sort of wiggle room, welcome room, because then obviously we could even fluctuate and get super fights sort of thing, in different weight divisions.
Yeah, definitely. Because it's a real problem just for longevity of the fighters as well, isn't it? It really puts them at risk. And it's interesting how the weight cuts can work. Because look at Max Holloway. He fights at featherweight, and then he came up to fight at lightweight to fight Khabib, and he had a worse cut. And they said, "Oh no, you can't do it. Your cut's been too bad." There's an extra 10 pounds than he normally fights at. So it's clearly not good for you. If he's, it's not good for your body. It's not healthy, and it shouldn't be happening. So I don't know what the UFC can do about it. I don't know what MMA in general can do about it, but I think there needs to be hopefully more divisions or more of a weigh-in on the day kind of thing, like amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
Like they weigh in that day, right? You're 155, you're fighting at 155.
I think if that was to ever come in play, I actually don't think that's a bad idea, but I think it would shake up the UFC in general massively if that was to happen, because a lot of people just couldn't make the weight, and it'd be very much a grey area of figuring everything out.
Or it could go the opposite way. And then maybe it's worse. Maybe they come in, make that cut on the day, and then they're fighting in that state. You know, maybe make it a little bit
They
worse.
pass out in the cage as they're getting introduced, sort of thing, you know. But I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, when you see, if you're watching Embedded or something, and if it's just someone like cutting weight, do you remember when Masvidal stepped in as a late replacement to fight Usman, and he had to cut like 20 pounds sort of thing, and he's sat there, you know, people have to lift him up and got the energy. That's where you're like, you just think, oh, how are you gonna, all just to make this one day on the scales, and then the next, then just pile it all back on if you can in a healthy way, you know. Them extreme weight cuts, you get that they're saving the card. But we've said this before, you know, especially with 279 that took place, that absolute mess of a card. They should be rewarded massively. Li Jingliang, maybe not a title shot at all, because
he should get a title shot. Li Jingliang should get to fight Leon Edwards after Francis Ngannou's beating him up for an hour, then put him in the octagon, and Lee just gets the belt. Just give it to him for free.
Right, yeah. There's no bias there.
It's only fair. It's only fair.
There's no bias there whatsoever. I didn't know you were a fan of this.
No.
But no, I do. He should definitely be rewarded. Because it is, you know, his main card and potentially even main event potential as well.
Yeah, really
you know, and he saved that card just do weight cuts. You know, the guy Rodriguez was heavier than him, and he got swapped around and everything like that. He got messed around something rotten on that card just because Hamzat couldn't make weight.
Yeah,
and it wasn't even apologetic about it at all. But I mean, it's a tough one. But whatever ends up happening, we're still going to watch, and we're probably just going to complain about it, and that just gives us more time when we comment each other. You know, like, I said, they missed weight by 4 pounds. This is another time they've done it. But whatever happens, you know, we'll still be tuning in. But I think that's all we're going to have time for. If you can like, comment, and subscribe, it really does help us out.